Welcome back, y'all. So this time we are heading to Navajo country, Antelope Canyon and Lake Powell, the entire area. But we went via Scenic Byway number 12. You've never heard of it? What is that? Well, due to my road partner's rigorous research, she found out that this byway is actually one of the most scenic routes in the world, and it did not disappoint. Absolutely gorgeous. To me, what was the most amazing was how quickly the scenery changed from literally 1 hour to the next hour. So coming from Utah or Moab, Utah, where we were, to now heading to Page, Arizona, you could take the highway, which would take about 4 hours, or you could take the scenic byway that also takes you by Bryce Canyon. Also pretty, but we didn't have as much time to spend in it, unfortunately, because we needed to try to set up in the place that we set up. You'll see a little bit later on Navajo land. But the entire view was gorgeous. Just the entire drive, gorgeous. 6 hours, about 7 hours, I guess, with stops of gorgeousness. Do know there's not tons of places to get gas, so when you can get it, do not let yourself get below a quarter of a tank, or you might be pushing in the middle of the desert or the mountains or the snow. You'll see, we went through every type of landscape you can imagine. So enjoy. So along the way, you don't want to go so fast. It's pretty twisty, turny. You should also know that there are cow and deer crossings everywhere. And I do mean just like random cows, just chillax and walking like, what you doing here? So we were planning to go through Bryce Canyon, but unfortunately they do not allow campers inside the park. You have to leave it parked kind of like at the first entrance. And we really didn't have time to detach and reattach and go into the park. But we got to see beautiful land masses and a rock bridge, I guess, or one of the first arches in the area. In the Red Rocks area. So I was glad that we at least got to see that and go through the tunnel. Just as you're entering Page, Arizona, there's this beautiful visitor center, some dinosaur tracks I had to take from my little Pookie, let him see that. And this is the famous Lake Powell. You can tell that the water or the dam over at Lake Powell is super, super low, which definitely affected the entire trip. This summer, they had an extreme drought, and so the water levels have dropped to a record low, and that means that Lake Powell, that feeds into Antelope Canyon, being super low, means that the following day we would have to paddle more, but more to come there. This is where we set up right next to this awesome teepee. It's Mystic Antelope Canyon. If you want to look it up, they have one place to park. You could also possibly stay in the teepee itself or the hokan. So we got in at night and set up, and well, in the evening, and then we got to meet the owner, or the lady that rents out the facility, and her husband, shown in this picture, who are of Navajo descent and very familiar with the canyon. But here's like a little tour of the hokan, which is a traditional home for Navajo people even to this very day. So there she's explaining some things on the map. Very cool concept that this mud is mixed of the clay that you see all over that ground, and some water and sticks and shrubs, and they mix it together. It makes kind of like a brick wall they spread on the outside. Now this one's a little less traditional because, as you can see, there's a little bit of paneling involved, but the general shape you'll see everywhere, and I just think it's fascinating that structure and whole wood beams are still being used to this day. It's very eco-friendly and very effective. It keeps the heat out during the summer and keeps the heat in the winter. Also, there's a stove. And we see that she still does traditional weaving of the baskets. Here's a small little model of a hokan home with the chimney opening. Very cool. Very cool. I stayed in the camper, but I would be down to stay in the hokan. Why not?
The way you can tell people cells, you see like different.
Okay, so now we're heading to Antelope Canyon. There's Upper and Lower Antelope Canyon, which honestly is just one long canyon. But it used to be divided by a overhead bridge that has since fallen down. But you could either kayak into the Lower Canyon, which is the first half of the canyon, or you could take a shuttled bus, or you can go from the Upper Canyon from the other end. That one is only accessible by guided tours. So we decided to take the kayak and go for it. In retrospect, because I hate being cold and wet, would not do that again. Got so splashed up. Unless it was summertime. October was already way too cold for my comfort, especially after the sun went down coming back. But it was a beautiful ride, and I was super excited at first. I'm not gonna lie. Super, super excited. But after getting soaked, as you will see later on, I was kind of over it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So, what I would do next time is find a more affordable, because some of the tours, they can range from $50 to 100 something dollars, however much you want to spend. I would do the upper, because since I've done the lower already. The additional thing to think about is that when you are kayaking to the entrance of the canyon, depending on the water level, like once again, I mentioned the Lake Powell is super low because of the drought this summer. You will be hiking for quite a while on the dried out riverbed, as you will see. It is absolutely gorgeous. I don't say don't do it, just count the cost. It was a gorgeous day though. And while the sun was up and I was warm, things were lovely. Enjoy the tour, guys. It's a much drier, warmer version of it. So we're walking into the creek now. Apparently, this is where the water used to be, and it's dried up that much. I'm sure it has something to do with mankind. We're such a hot mess. Oh, I love it. So pretty. So I got about 20 minutes to get to the head of the canyon. Check this out, guys. Walking where a river was. It's amazing. You can see how high the water once was. I'm gonna have to do a little research to find out what made it drop so low. Because it's kind of scary, right? Walking backwards so you can see what I'm seeing. So glorious. Much longer than planned, but totally worth it. The details in these rocks, I just can't get enough. So windy. Okay, now we've come to the part that's like a maze. How cool is this? And I think it opens up again. So we come to this marker where there's kind of a fork in the road that indicates where to go to get to the area where it narrows and then turns into the upper canyon. I think it's amazing how vegetation just finds its way, finds a way to survive, finds a way to cling to rocks. It's just so well created. They're just survivors, you know? So I got pretty far, but I stopped, as you'll see, when I fell in this huge puddle of what was left over of the river. And I was so done. It was just like waist deep. I'm like, you're kidding, right? We're not done yet? Okay, I've seen enough pretty things. We're done. Around, and you can see why. It is beautiful. I just fell in this mud hole. It's just deep. Like up to here. Oh my god. So that is where I stopped and rested on these beautiful red rocks until I gathered myself together, dried a little bit of sun there was, and turned around and went back. It was just as gorgeous going back. Let me tell you, it feels just as smooth as it looks. It's a sandstone, just smooth, weathered rock. Absolutely fascinating. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next leg of the trip, the Grand Canyon. It did not disappoint.